oh my god, here we are. Can you believe it? Leave it, leave it. That's a song that plays during the end credits, and it's terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what you're missing out on. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend you go out and see it. Not because it's good. This movie is many things. Good is not one of them. But it is entertaining. I saw this movie based on not just Chris Stuckman's review, but also the midnight screenings from Stone Gremlin Productions. Because, like, they both said basically the same thing. This is not a horror movie. This is a comedy. And the funniest comedy of the year at that. And you should definitely go see it because it's insane. Like, I had to scribble down some notes to make sure I didn't miss anything, because man, there's a lot to talk about. First of all, this movie is distributed by Orion Pictures. I had no idea they were still in business. For some reason, I thought they went bankrupt like a decade ago or something, even more than that. There's just a bunch of really stupid things in this movie, basically. Like the bike outside their front yard. Because it shows her as a kid, like 8-something years old. And she has this little purple little girl's bike, pink bike, sorry. And she leaves it in the front yard. And because it opens with a flashback, and then it jumps ahead to when she's a teenager, and the bike is still in their front yard, like, for the last, 8 years, I'm guessing. Like, they just left it there, they never picked it up. When they mowed the lawn, did they, mow around it? Oh, if she had left it in the garage and the bike was still sitting there in the garage 8 years later, that would be understandable, because I have my old bike that I'm too big for, that I had when I was a kid, still rotting in the corner in the garage. And she has a new bike now. She has the yellow bike, the adult size bike, and I have my own adult size bike. So if it was in the garage, it would make more sense. But it's just been sitting there in the front yard for 8 years, no rust on it or anything, at least none that I noticed. But I'm getting worked up over one little detail too much. So basically, her dad finds this old Chinese music box in the dumpster or in the garbage, and he gives it to her, and it turns out, she holds it, and she's like, oh man, I wish that girl would, rot in hell or something. And the music box opens that night and plays this music, and to this movie's little credit, if I woke up in the middle of the night with music box music playing, that would be really freaky. But the girl contracts this rotting flesh disease or something, her wish came true. And the catch is that every time you make a wish, you somebody dies, somebody close to you, I assume, or has some association with you in some way. And from this point, this is where the movie gets just really absurd, because our protagonist is just this most selfish, self-absorbed character who makes nothing but selfish wishes. I wish to be the most popular girl in school. I wish to inherit this old man's money after he dies, so then I'll be super rich. Um, I wish that this hot guy at school will fall in love with me. And, like, dude, like, if I got that box and assumingly uh, it worked and I made some arbitrary wish on it and it happened to come true, uh, second of all, I would test it out again just to make sure that it actually worked. Just something trivial like I wish there was like a banana peel like on the ground or something, and and if that happens, then I would say like I wish for I would first of all I would wish for the end of world hunger. Nobody would ever starve again. Then once I found out it worked, then I would wish for all the world's conflicts to end, world peace. Then I would wish for all the racism and religious prejudice in the world to be gone, erased from every human being, so that way uh, we can prevent future wars, famine, racism, religion, huge causes of war. And then after that, I would probably wish for the cures to be found for every big disease that doesn't have a cure yet. And because if I was granted that sort of power, you would have a moral obligation to make wishes like that. Like, even if one person close to me dies every time I make a wish, who cares? In the grand scheme of things, when you make wishes like that better the world we live in, you it's worth it because you're saving hundreds of thousands, millions of others' lives in the process of doing so. And even if you're not religious, like you don't believe in God and you're an atheist, you should still be obligated to make selfless wishes like that, because if you don't, you will forever go down in history as the person who could have ended world hunger and wars and found the cure for cancer, but didn't. You would forever go down as that asshole, as the most selfish asshole in the world. And the thing, getting back on track with the movie, the thing is, the movie becomes self-aware at a certain point, because the girl shows her friends the box. At this point, she's made 4 or 5 wishes, and there's this whole other subplot where she tries to learn about the box by going to her Chinese friend's cousin, and she says the writing says you have 7 wishes, and then after that the demon in the box or something takes her soul. But anyways, she shows the box to her friends, and her friends say, "What? You've used up 5 wishes already and they were all on yourself? You..." And they call her this, "You psycho bitch. Why didn't you, grant me, a full ride to this Ivy League college, or, wish for world peace, or the cure for cancer?" And I'm like, that's literally what I was thinking. This movie knows how stupid it is, and it just rolls with it. And for that reason, I can't be as harsh on this movie when giving it, a rating. But, oh man, there's still more to talk about. So, yeah, this movie is one of the least scary horror movies I've ever seen in my life. And I think a big reason for it is because it's filmed like a comedy. there is no atmosphere in this movie. There is practically no tension. It's even the jump scares. Like I again, to this movie's little credit, the jump scares were all at least things you're supposed to be afraid of. Um, one of like after she makes the first wish, her dog dies, and uh, that's that's a jump scare. Uh, then the I'm trying to think of other jump scares in this movie, but like you get the point. But like the audience I saw this movie with was laughing. Like they were like last year when I went to see The Conjuring 2. Like first of all, that movie's directed by James Wan, a competent horror director who knows how to create atmosphere and build suspense. Yes, he uses jump scares sometimes, but they're at least things you're supposed to be afraid of and not cheap throwaway things like your best friend brushing by. Like when I saw The Conjuring 2, like there were like several moments in the movie where I was like where I was like cowering like this in my seat, afraid to look at the screen, and like all the people in the theater were like oh shit, oh what's in there, oh this is so scary. Like that's how you make a scary movie. Like even It Comes at Night, a movie that came out in theaters a few months ago. And it's not even like a straight up horror movie. It's more a post apocalyptic thriller. There's still like very tense, suspenseful sequences, especially the long takes that they do at night. Like especially in the hallway leading up to the red door, just so tense. Like, but this movie, Wish Upon, it's just filmed like a comedy, and like they make jokes like it's a comedy. Like the gay best friend is shown at a sleepover, and he's sleeping in the closet. Like, get it? Because he's in the closet, even though he's like outwardly flamboyant and feminine, but like he's not entirely in the closet, like his like head and torso sticking out as he's laying down. But like just things like that. And at one point the lead girl, I forget her name already, she even though her acting wasn't bad, she was like, there's this one part of the movie where she starts like uh acting like the wish box is a drug, and like she needs to make wishes. She's like, I got two more. I gotta make those last two wishes. Oh man. And it's and it was funny. Like the audience was laughing. It's like she's going through withdrawal from wishes, cuz and it's so it's ridiculous. This movie's ridiculous. Oh, let's see. I can't even read my own handwriting. But yeah, that basically covers all the big things, I'd say. Yeah, this movie is ridiculous. When it comes to rating it, this is where things get tricky, because objectively, this movie's a fat F. This is a failure of a horror film. Like, if they were trying to make this scary, they failed, because this is one of the least scary horror movies I've ever seen in my life. And if anything, it was funny. It was a comedy. But at the same time, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the audience I saw it with thoroughly enjoyed it, again, as a comedy, not in the way it was intended. So even though objectively this movie's like an F, a 1 out of 10, I would I would personally bump it up to like a D minus, generous 2 out of 10, because it's this movie's amazing. Again, go see this. It is worth it. It might not be what you expect, but oh man, it's great. And I should. That reminds me, I should probably. This will probably be a good time to bring up something else about my rating system that I didn't bring up in the Pirates of the Caribbean review, which I dedicated the last 6 minutes of that video to explaining my rating system. And the thing is, factoring in my personal enjoyment when watching a movie, like, I try to be objective. Like, if I see a bad movie like this, that, like, should be a 1, like, if I thoroughly enjoyed it in at least a guilty pleasure way, I'll bump it up to, like, a 2. Like, Troll 2, I would give a 2 out of 10, because even though it's objectively a 1, I would bump it up to a 2, because it's at least so bizarre it's enjoyable. And guys, Troll 2 is not the worst movie ever made, nor is it the most entertaining bad movie ever made. I've seen way worse, and I've seen way more entertaining. But anyways, like, last year, Manchester by the Sea, I hated that movie. I hated sitting through that mean-spirited, depressing experience, but I still gave it a 7 out of 10 because that's what I felt the quality of film it was, and I could see how this movie has merit and how this could, like, help someone going through a similar situation. Or like, when it comes to more abstract cinema, like Satan Tango or Solaris, like those really glacially slow-paced, artsy foreign films like that, or like The Turin Horse, like Satan Tango and Solaris, even though I would personally never want to sit through them ever again, I still gave both of those movies a 9 out of 10 because I see the artistic merit and I see, like, the clever things the director is going for, and, like, how this is exploring the themes it wants to explore, but, like, that doesn't necessarily mean I enjoyed it. Like, take, for example, Tyrannosaur, which is this British movie directed by Paddy Constantine, I think, that came out in 2011. It's a bleak, dreary, depressing movie about horrible people living unhappy lives, but it was a great movie and I gave it an 8 out of 10. Or The War Zone, a movie about, again, bleak, dreary, soul-crushing, depressing movie about, with no happy ending, spoiler alert, about this, like, father who has incestual relations with his 2 daughters, one of which is a newborn infant. Yeah, that's a great, positive, family movie-going experience for you, but I still gave that movie a 9 out of 10 because it's an outstanding movie and it deserves it, even though I would personally rather not sit through it ever again. But yeah, that basically covers everything I think I'd want to say about that. Guys, see Wish Upon. It's not good, but it's everything else and more. Go see it. Believe me, it's worth it if you're into bad movies.